So I've been holding up from making this video for the longest time because I wanted to see where the story would go moving forward, but with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Darkest Hour, we're 4 chapters into it, we're almost at the halfway point, and there's been a question on a lot of people's minds as Darkest Hour continues, or as the comics continue, and that is, where do the comics go after this story arc? Will the comics end after Darkest Hour? Will the Boom Studio Power Ranger comics come to a close? That is a question on everyone's mind. And I got this video idea from Rolliver Queen, friend of the channel, friend of the show. Go check out Rolliver, puts out some pretty good content, but not only that, like I said, this is where I got this video idea from because they talked about the exact same topic, and seeing how Darkest Hour is almost at the halfway point, and I feel like now's the best time for me to talk about it, now that we're getting deeper and deeper into Darkest Hour as the months go on. So, will the Power Ranger comics end after Darkest Hour? And I want to agree with what Rolliver said in his video. I want to say, yeah, I feel like that the Power Ranger comics will probably end after Darkest Hour. And I know that's probably going to upset a lot of people, but this is mere speculation. They could continue after Darkest Hour. And I see a lot of comments. People want to see them to adapt Zeo or the Ninja story or Season 3. A lot of people want to see those seasons adapted or the comics take on those stories, and I can understand where they're coming from. But you got to think about this. Would anyone else buy a Power Rangers in Space comic, or a Power Rangers Zeo comic, or a Power Rangers Turbo comic if we got those stories being told in comic format? Would those stories sell? Will the casual normie who walks into a comic store see a Power Rangers Turbo comic and buy it? Probably not. Possibly, you never know. It's Mighty Morphin that is the big nostalgia factor, and the seller, the one that everyone remembers. So of course, they got to keep the Mighty Morphin story going. And I know what a lot of people say, they're sick of Mighty Morphin, this, that, and the other. But with Darkest Hour, if you've been reading the comics for the past couple of years, like ever since near the end of the Ryan Parrott run, it seemed like that a lot of story threads were leading up to sort of like the separation of all the Rangers after Season 3 or during Season 3, or leading into the Zeo where Billy leaves the team, where each Ranger had their moments and they thought about what are they going to do after this. And with Darkest Hour, they're currently fighting Dark Spectre, who was built up to be this big threat in the Power Rangers series, in the Power Ranger comics. He's a major antagonist for our heroes right now. And although Dark Spectre comes back in Power Rangers in Space, because you know you got to sort of keep the timeline flowing and everything flows together so nothing changes too much in the timeline, where do they go after Dark Spectre? Because Dark Spectre is meant to be this big evil boss. Who do they fight after Dark Spectre? Because, you know, Dark Spectre was not Zordon's greatest nemesis, but, you know, he was meant to be the end of the Zordon era. And these Rangers we're following, they're the beginning of the Zordon era. So they're fighting the very last enemy of the Zordon era, but they're beefed up to be a huge threat. And I know what you're thinking, well, maybe they can fight a different Power Rangers villain, like, I don't know, Venjix comes from his dimension and they fight him, or maybe Scorponok comes back, or Scorpius comes around and they fight him, etc., etc. I don't feel like that's the case right now, because after Mighty Morphin, and they've said this several times in the comics, the Mighty Morphin team is the team that laid the groundwork for future Power Ranger teams that we know and love throughout the years. And I feel like after Darkest Hour is probably where the comics are going to end. And I know that's sad for a lot of people, but this is just pure speculation at this point. I feel like that the comics are going to end after Darkest Hour, or we'll get a little epilogue comic after Darkest Hour to see where our heroes are going to go next and close it all off. Because from what I've heard, and this could be all rumblings and speculations and sort of Chinese whispers, but Darkest Hour was not meant to go on for 12 months. It was meant to go on for a little bit shorter. And when you think about it, that might make sense with what's happening in next month's issue, what happened at the end of this month's issue, where they're going to storm Safe Haven to take it back, because that move seems like a big endgame move for our heroes. and to see that the story is going to go on for a couple of months leading into issue 124, you wonder, where is the story going to go after that? We've got some stuff in between, like the Morphin Masters, written by Ryan Parrott, which I'm really freaking excited to read. I'm glad they brought Ryan Parrott back to do a story. That is great. If they bring back Kyle or something like that to do like an epilogue at the end, or some kind of story from Kyle Higgins, that'd be freaking sweet as well. But Kyle's busy working on his own thing, along with Ryan as well. But it's cool to see Ryan back as well on the comics. But Melissa has been killing it with Darkest Hour, I will say that much. Melissa is doing a fantastic job. She's killing it. I've been loving the comics for the past couple of months. For a year, like, the Melissa run's been going on for a year now, which is crazy. That's crazy to think about. But either way, I feel like that the comics could end with Darkest Hour, because although, like, you could tell the ninja stories and stuff like that, or Ninja Quest or something like that, and have Kat join the team, that'd be cool. Where do we go from here? Because the Rangers have faced all these different threats in the comics. The Imperials, the Eltarian War, Draken shattering the universe. There's been a lot going down in the comics for the past couple of years, and Dark Spectre, he's the big bad. And the way this whole arc is going down, it's been giving off like endgame vibes with everything happening, because after Darkest Hour, we've got to sort of hit the reset switch when it comes to Lord Zed and Rita, because they've got to fall in love. They haven't even had their wedding yet, because, you know, the comics has been doing its own thing. And that sexual tension, that sort of weird romance between the two, that's been hinted at with Rita's dialogue that Melissa's been writing. Like, Rita has a thing for Lord Zed with how she wants to impress him. And although Lord Zed doesn't like Rita, there's a bit of a hate fuck vibe going on between the two. So they're going to get together eventually later down the line. And how that happens, I am very curious to see how Melissa is going to tie down that romance between the two characters. That should be an interesting scene, I will say that. But do you guys think that the Power Ranger comics are going to end after Darkest Hour, or do you think we'll get something else after the comics? Do you think we'll get another spin-off plan? Do you think we'll get another sort of like Unlimited series or a universe series? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions, because with that said, I feel like I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out, take care, and bye.